Would you rather be righteous or powerful? At first, the answer seems obvious. We are taught that goodness is the highest virtue, morality triumphs over corruption, and justice prevails. But Leo Tolstoy saw the world differently. A man who spent his life searching for meaning first through war, then through wealth, then through faith, only to arrive at a terrifying conclusion. Goodness, in a world ruled by power, is powerless. Not because goodness does not exist, but because the world is not built to reward it. Tolstoy's moral crisis forced him to ask the darkest question of all. If the ruthless always crush the good, then is morality just a weakness? And if so, how should we live? Stay with me, because this is one of the most unsettling truths in philosophy. Tolstoy was not a philosopher in the academic sense. He was a man of experience. A soldier, a nobleman, a thinker who wrestled with the nature of power not in theory but in life. His most excellent novel, War and Peace, is not just a story about history but also a philosophical warning. In it, Tolstoy reveals a terrifying truth that history is not shaped by goodness but by force. The noble, the wise, and the virtuous do not dictate the future. The Napoleons, the warlords, the manipulators, the tacticians rewrite the laws of history. Morality, idealism, and kindness are used, discarded, or forgotten. The strongest of all warriors are these two, time and patience, war and peace. Tolstoy shows that those who dominate history do so not through wisdom, but through sheer will. Even the most virtuous characters in War and Peace, like Prince Andrei, are crushed by reality. Moral ideals collapse under the force of power. And this realization began to break Tolstoy. Tolstoy saw a world where virtue was not a shield but a weakness. A world where the just man, believing in reason and righteousness, stands on the battlefield of life, expecting fairness, only to be struck down by the brute force of those who care nothing for justice. He understood that war does not favor the wise, nor does power reward the compassionate. If everyone fought for their convictions, there would be no war. Yet Tolstoy shows us that battles are won not by the just, but by the ruthless. Those who believe in fairness hesitate. Those who believe in brute force do not. And in this hesitation, morality is always defeated. Tolstoy saw that goodness could inspire men, but it could not protect them. It was a beautiful idea crushed under the boots of realpolitik. Tolstoy also shattered one of the most incredible illusions of morality, the belief that history corrects itself. Evil men always fall. That justice, given enough time, will prevail. But War and Peace reveals the opposite. There is no greatness where there is no simplicity, goodness, and truth. And yet, greatness is rarely built upon goodness. History remembers Napoleon not as a villain but as a genius. His victories are glorified, his destruction rationalized, his ambition immortalized. Tolstoy saw this contradiction. Evil men are often admired, while good men are forgotten. Force reshapes the world, while morality only reacts to it. And the people who should lead, they are often too noble to seize power. This realization did not just disturb Tolstoy, it tormented him, because it meant that the very world he lived in was designed to favor the ruthless. And if that was true, what hope was there for the good? Tolstoy wasn't always radical. For much of his life, he believed in the system. He was an aristocrat, a landowner, a man of status, and a respected figure among Russia's elite. But as he aged, his faith in the world he once embraced began to shatter. He started to see something alarming. Governments do not seek morality, they seek control. Religions do not pursue truth, they pursue obedience. The powerful do not serve the good, they serve only themselves. The state is a conspiracy designed not only to exploit, but above all to corrupt its citizens. Tolstoy came to believe that all power was evil and that governments, kings, and rulers existed not to serve the people, but to keep them in submission. He looked around and saw that those in power did not ask, "What is right?" They asked, "What will keep us in control?" This realization shattered his worldview. For the first time, he understood that the very structure of society was built upon a lie. Tolstoy had long believed in institutions, government, religion, law as necessary for stability. But then he saw them for what they were: obedience machines. People do not resist evil because they are taught from childhood that obedience is the highest virtue. And the greatest lie of all? These systems, built on force and deception, claim to represent morality. What happens when morality becomes just another tool of control? Tolstoy saw that the church did not preach truth, it preached submission to authority. The state did not protect people, it controlled them through fear. And the moment someone questioned the system, they were labeled as dangerous, an enemy of order. This is why governments fear independent thinkers. Not because they threaten stability, but because they expose the lie. Tolstoy could no longer live in that lie. And so he made a decision that would cost him everything. Tolstoy did something few men in history have ever done. He was one of Russia's most famous, wealthy, and respected men, but he gave it all up. He abandoned his wealth. He renounced his noble title. He gave up his privileged status and chose a life of simplicity. He devoted himself entirely to moral truth, preaching nonviolence, radical pacifism, and rejecting all state power. But here is the problem. Did anyone follow? Did the world change? No. The world laughed. Society did not care. And this was Tolstoy's most significant dilemma. He had discovered what he believed to be the highest moral truth. But the world did not want the truth. It wanted power. And this is the paradox he could never resolve. If goodness rejects power, how can it ever win? If morals refuse to dominate, how can morality ever rule the world? This is the question that haunted Tolstoy until the end of his life. And it is a question we still cannot answer today. Tolstoy's most significant moral dilemma was not just that evil exists. It was that goodness, in its purest form, refused to fight. The good seek peace, but the powerful seek to control. The good seek truth, but the rulers seek loyalty. The good hesitate, but the ruthless act. And in this imbalance, power always wins. History is not kind to the moral. Socrates was executed for corrupting the youth. Jesus was crucified by the very people he tried to save. Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Tolstoy himself oppressed, silenced, discarded. Tolstoy saw this, and he understood the terrifying cost of virtue. The most difficult thing, but an essential one, is to love life, to love it even while one suffers, because life is all. But is that enough? If goodness always loses, then should we fight fire with fire? Should the good become ruthless to stop the powerful? Tolstoy wrestled with this question until his final days, and the answer he arrived at was shocking. Tolstoy's conclusion was not what most wanted to hear. He did not say, "Fight evil with power." He did not say, "Destroy the wicked before they destroy you." Instead, he made the most radical moral claim in modern history. Reject all power, all authority, all violence. Governments, they are built on war. Reject them. Organized religion, it is a tool for control. Reject it. Wealth, influence, social rank, all distractions. Give them up. There can be only one permanent revolution, a moral one, the regeneration of the inner man. Tolstoy believed that the only true revolution was internal. He saw that the world, as it is, will never reward morality. If you choose to be good, you must accept suffering. If you choose the truth, you will be persecuted. If you live by morality, you will never hold power. Because power is built on force, and goodness refuses to use it. This is the dark truth that Tolstoy left us with. Goodness will never rule the world. But that does not mean we should not be good. Because morality is not about winning. It is about refusing to become what you hate, even if that means losing. So, what does this mean? Does it mean we should surrender? Does it mean evil will always win? No. It means we must make a choice. If we seek power, we must abandon pure goodness. If we seek truth, we must accept that we may suffer. Tolstoy left the world with one final question, a challenge that echoes through time. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Because the most significant battle is not between good and evil. It is within us. Do we chase power, knowing that morality may be the price? Do we choose truth, knowing that the world may reject us? If the world rewards power over goodness, is it worth it? The choice, as always, is yours.